What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode here on our F9F-8P Photo Cougar. We're going to move on today, guys, and try to hopefully get this thing looking more like a Cougar. Now, last time we came in here, did a lot of work on the front photo equipment nose, went ahead and put on those clear parts there for the different windows. That looked okay. Needs to be masked though. And we went ahead and attached the nose to the fuselage, and there's a little bit of a seam there, but I think we can go ahead and file that down to minimize that. We do have to come back and make sure that we can seal this off right here so we don't get any paint all over the place. And then of course mask off the windows and work a little bit here to try and see if we can't get that front windscreen mounted, or at least ready to be mounted. So that looks okay. On the underside, the work we've done over the last couple of episodes have really paid off. I think that looks okay. It's not perfect, mind you. There are some issues I would have preferred not have had to deal with, but we have pushed forward. I think it looks okay. Now, we also went ahead and worked a little bit on the wings last episode, and we installed one of the photo etch pieces on each of the wings. Now, I actually have not come in here and sanded down my seams just yet. That's going to be today. But last episode, I did come in with some super glue and I went ahead and filled up all of the seams. So today we have to come back. We have to go ahead and sand down all of those areas. After that is all finished up, I want to go ahead and try to attach the wings to the fuselage, get those tail planes all nicely glued in, and this thing should be looking pretty cool, very much like a Photo Cougar. So let's go ahead and dive into our very first time lapse, guys. We're going to do a lot of sanding, a lot of filing today. We're going to go ahead and get all of these seams nicely filed out, and then we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and start masking off all the windows. It's very important to do because I don't want to get primer or paint all over my windows, so we're going to go ahead and get those masked up as well. So let's go ahead and dive into our first time lapse, guys, see what we can do, push this thing forward. Alright everybody, we are back, and man, that is a lot of sanding I had to do, but we are looking okay. I think all the seams are more or less manageable, and I'm fine with them. So we're going to move on here with the front windscreen. Now I've noticed something interesting about these clear parts. They're actually pretty good. There is very prominent framing on each of the windows, so that's kind of helpful because I think masking will be a lot easier. And I can tell just right off the bat, it does not want to fit. In fact, it looks like it actually interferes with that coping that comes across the top of the actual cockpit. So we're going to have to come in and we're going to have to do some work. We're going to have to sand off some of the plastic there so that everything fits down nicely, clean up some of the lines, remove some more plastic off of the sides, probably even sand down the edges of the canopy itself. I can somewhat get it to fit, but I have to press down and hold it, splay the canopy outwards. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the canopy itself. I don't want to snap this clear part. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and sand, file, and trim plastic with my X-Acto knife and see what we can do. So let's go ahead and get back into that time lapse. We're going to push on. We're going to get that canopy all nicely prepped. We're going to mask the canopy, which is never really a fun thing to do, but very necessary. And we'll go ahead and get the ailerons installed, get the wings installed, and just see how this thing goes together. So let's push on, see what we can do. Alright everybody, we are back, and wow, we have the wings on, we have the tail planes on, everything is looking pretty much like a Cougar, so I'm happy. We've got the canopy masked off, everything seems to fit okay. I did have to take quite a bit of plastic off of the sides of the windscreen and also the top coping that comes across that windscreen. So we needed to do a lot of work, but we have it more or less ready to go. We have to do some touch-up painting and we can eventually install the canopy, and then we should be able to go ahead and start priming. So next episode, we're going to come back and we are going to prime up this bird. Now we also have to go ahead and start installing the landing gears and the landing gear bay doors. That's going to be interesting because according to the instructions and my references, the landing gear bay doors for the main gears actually go up inside the wing joint area. There's a little bit of a gap right there, and the door will actually kind of fit up inside of that. So I'm going to have to hopefully not have to do too much sanding when I go ahead and try to install those. I'm really hoping that there's enough room to go ahead and slip that door down inside of that opening, because if there's not, we're going to have to go ahead and sand something. Like I mentioned, this aircraft is looking pretty decent though. I like the look of the Cougar. In fact, all the early 1950s jets, they all kind of look really cool to me. They're one of my favorite eras in aviation. Being able to build a 1/48 scale Cougar is actually a really nice dream of mine. The kit itself has fought me at numerous points, and it's making me a little bit hesitant to pick up a Kitty Hawk kit again, even though I already already have several in my stash. I'm just not really excited to go ahead and dive in on any more Kitty Hawk kits for a while. Probably going to give myself at least like a year break on Kitty Hawk. Unless, of course, they release that FJ3 Fury. If they do, I'm probably going to have to buy that. And one last thing before we call it quits today, guys, I wanted to go ahead and install that mid-air refueling probe. That actually comes out of the very front of the nose. So I've got my jeweler files. We're just going to go ahead and take off any of the imperfections, make sure it's as round and as smooth as possible, make sure the key is nicely cleaned up so we can go ahead and lock in the right tabs. So let's go ahead and just give this a quick pressure fit here and make sure I find the correct location. Yeah, there we go. So let's go ahead and just push that all the way in. Okay, nice. Last time when I went ahead and installed that, it was canted upwards. So this is actually pretty level and it looks more or less straight on. So we're not going to glue that in just yet though, because I have a feeling that if I did, I would most likely snap it off at some point. So we're not going to glue it in. We're just going to leave it pressure fit for now. Next episode, we have some sanding to do. I'm going to clean up all of the seam lines there for the wing and the fuselage joint. Maybe use a little bit of Mr. Surfacer to minimize a lot of the other gaps around the fuselage. Install some of the other fuselage parts, like some of the scoops and some of the openings. Then we have the tail skid, the arrestor hook. We have the landing gears, landing gear bay doors, and then of course any sort of actuators. Lots to do, guys. Everything together with the wings on, the nose on, the photo equipment all installed there. It looks pretty decent. I do have some issues with fitting that rear sliding portion of the canopy, but luckily for me, I'm going to go ahead and display it open, so it fits just fine. But we're going to go ahead and call it quits for today, guys. So thank you so much for joining us here on episode number 9. Next time we'll be back, push forward, try to get this thing as close to being finished as possible. So until our next episode, you guys know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. And we'll see you back here on another episode of our F9F-8P Photo Cougar for the Recon Group Build. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.